Imagine this. A kid from the rough streets of Brooklyn is growing up in a cramped apartment where money was so tight his family could barely afford heat in winter. Fast forward, and that same kid transforms a small Seattle coffee shop into a global empire, getting millions daily under the iconic Green Mermaid logo. But the road to Starbucks stardom was paved with rejection, self-doubt, and near bankruptcy. This is the story of Howard Schultz, the man who turned a cup of coffee into a cultural phenomenon. Welcome to Rich World, where we uncover the journeys of visionaries who defied the odds. Grab your coffee, hit that like button, and let's dive into the relentless struggle and triumph of Howard Schultz. Oh, and drop a comment below. Where are you watching from? And what's the date and time there? Let's connect. Howard Schultz was born on July 19, 1953 in Brooklyn, New York, in the gritty Canarsie housing projects. His parents, Fred and Elaine, were working class, his father a truck driver, his mother a receptionist. Money was scarce. The family of 5 squeezed into a 2-bedroom apartment. Winters were brutal, with broken heaters and thin walls. Howard later recalled huddling with his siblings, Donald and Ronnie, to stay warm. Fred Schultz worked grueling jobs, from factory shifts to driving cabs, but injuries left him unemployed, plunging the family deeper into poverty. "I saw my father lose his dignity," Howard said in his memoir. "Pour your heart into it." That pain watching his father's spirit break lit a fire in young Howard to escape the cycle. School was Howard's refuge. He wasn't a strata student, but he was scrappy, excelling in sports like football and basketball. His athleticism earned him a scholarship to Northern Michigan University in 1971, the first in his family to attend college. But college wasn't glamorous. To cover costs, Howard worked as a ski lodge bartender, sold his blood plasma, and even took out loans. He graduated in 1975 with a communications degree. No clear path ahead. "I had no plan, just ambition," he admitted. His first job? A sales trainee at Xerox, cold calling businesses? It was soul-crushing, but it taught him persistence. He'd knock on doors, face rejection, and keep going, a skill that would define his future. In 1979, Howard landed a job at Hammerplast, a Swedish housewares company selling kitchen goods. By 28, he was their U.S. vice president, earning a 6-figure salary and living in Manhattan. Life seemed set, a nice apartment, steady income, but something was missing. In 1981, he noticed a small Seattle retailer, Starbucks, ordering an unusual number of coffee drippers. Curious, he flew out to investigate. Starbucks was a tiny operation then just for stores selling coffee beans and spices, not drinks. Howard met founders Jerry Baldwin and Gordon Boker, who shared their passion for quality coffee. "I felt like I'd found my calling," Howard said. He begged to join them, but they rejected him, saying he was too corporate. Undeterred, he called daily for a year. In 1982, they relented, hiring him as marketing director. At 29, Howard Schultz took a pay cut and moved across the country for a dream. Starbucks wasn't the empire we know today. It was a niche retailer, barely profitable, with a handful of stores. Howard saw potential beyond beans. On a 1983 trip to Milan, he wandered into an espresso bar and was captivated baristas crafting drinks with flair. Customers lingering like it was a second home. This is it, he thought. Starbucks could sell the experience, not just the product. He pitched the idea to his bosses, transformed Starbucks into a cafe serving espresso drinks. They shot it down, insisting on sticking to beans. Frustrated but undaunted, Howard kept pushing, testing espresso drinks in one store. The lines were out the door, but the founders wouldn't budge. In 1985, at 32, Howard left to start his own coffee house, Il Giornale. Starting Il Giornale was a leap into the abyss. Howard needed $1.7 million to open his first shop. He pitched to 242 investors. 217 said no. "I heard no so many times, I started doubting myself," he recalled. Friends lent money, his wife Sherry supported him, but funds were tight. He opened the first Il Giornale in Seattle in 1986, serving espresso in a cozy, Italian-inspired space. It was a hit, but scaling up was tough. Then, in 1987, a golden opportunity. Starbucks founders decided to sell their 6 stores and roasting plant for $3.8 million. Howard saw his chance to buy Starbucks and merge it with Il Giornale, but he was broke. He scrambled, pitching to investors again, maxing out credit and borrowing from anyone who'd listen. At the last second, a group led by Bill Gates, senior father of Microsoft's Bill Gates, came through. At 34, Howard owned Starbucks. The early days were chaos. Howard rebranded Il Giornale as Starbucks, aiming to open 125 stores in 5 years. But growth burned cash. By 1990, Starbucks was losing $1.2 million annually. Suppliers demanded upfront payments. Banks refused loans. Howard laid awake nights, haunted by the fear of losing everything. "I was signing leases I wasn't sure we could pay," he said. Employees worked grueling hours, and morale dipped. Yet Howard's vision held: create a third place between home and work, where people felt valued. He introduced employee benefits like health insurance and stock options radical for a small company winning loyalty. In 1992, Starbucks went public, raising $25 million. At 39, Howard was a multimillionaire with 165 stores, but success wasn't smooth. The late 1990s brought fierce competition, Dunkin' Donuts and local undercut prices. Starbucks stock wobbled as expansion costs soared. We're obsessed over quality, flying to stores to check coffee standards, but rapid growth strained operations. By 2000, Starbucks had 3,500 stores, but cracks showed. In 2007, the financial crisis hit. Customers cut back on $4 lattes. Starbucks stock plummeted 50%, and 600 stores closed. Howard, who'd stepped down as CEO in 2000 to become chairman, turned as CEO in 2008. "We'd lost our soul," he admitted. He'd shut stores for a day to retrain 135,000 baristas, refocusing on coffee quality. It was a gamble closing cost, millions, but it worked. By 2010, Starbucks was profitable again, with 17,000 stores worldwide. Personal struggles shadowed his triumphs. Growing up poor left Howard with a fear of failure. He married Sherry in 1982, and they had 3 kids, Jordan, Addison. And Elio Huba, his 80-hour work weeks, strained family life. In 1994, his father's death hit hard. Fred never saw Howard's success. Health scares followed. In 2001, Howard faced a prostate cancer scare, forcing him to slow down briefly. He also battled public backlash. Unions criticized Starbucks labor practices and anti-globalization protests targeted its stores. Howard responded by boosting ethical sourcing. Committing to fair trade coffee by 2009, "I wanted to build a company my father would have been proud of," he said. Starbucks' global expansion was relentless. By 2018, it had 28,000 stores across 77 countries, but missteps happened. A 2018 racial profiling incident in Philadelphia, where 2 black men were arrested at a Starbucks, sparked outrage. Howard took responsibility, closing 8,000 U.S. stores for racial bias training. "We had to own it," he said. He stepped down as CEO again in 2017, remaining chairman until 2018, leaving an $82 billion company. His net worth hit $4.5 billion, but he stayed grounded. Donating millions to education and veteran causes through the Schultz Family Foundation, Howard's later years weren't quiet. In 2019, he considered a U.S. presidential run as an independent, drawing criticism from both political sides. He backed out, citing polarization. He invested in tech startups and wrote books, sharing his leadership lessons. Starbucks faced new challenges: unionization efforts, inflation, but Howard's legacy endured. A brand synonymous with community. By 2025, Starbucks serves 100 million customers weekly, a testament to his vision. What makes Howard Schultz's story electrifying? Isn't just the billions or the mermaid logo? It's the kid from Canarsie who turned rejection into rocket fuel. He faced 217 investor no's, near bankruptcy and global scrutiny, yet built a company that redefined how we connect over coffee. "You have to believe in something bigger than yourself," he once said. From a Brooklyn project to boardrooms worldwide, Howard proved grit can outshine circumstance. So what's your big dream? Drop it in the comments, along with where you're watching from and the date and time. Hit that subscribe button for more stories of unstoppable dreamers on Rich World. Thanks for watching. See you next time.